Good evening. One of the last good reasons to keep open the Lincolnshire home of the Red Arrows has been removed. That's according to the local MP after it was announced that the air show at RAF Scampton won't happen next year. As the Ministry of Defence refuses to give assurances over the future of the historic base, one expert says even the Red Arrows are no longer sacred as military cost-cutting bites. Jake Zuckerman has this report.
The cancellation of next year's Scampton Air Show has come as something of a surprise to everyone. No reason was given by the organisers, and the news has set alarm bells ringing locally.
This is not good news for RAF Scampton because we're short of work at Scampton. Having the air show there is a really good foundation for keeping Scampton open.
You've not heard any sort of rumours in Westminster about the future of Scampton, the future of...
There are always rumours, and I have to warn people that Scampton may close sometime because it is not a full-scale operational RAF base.
It's all a far cry from the station's glory days when it played a key role in the UK's Cold War defences.
Falcons were on the tarmac to fly with blue steel.
But nowadays the station's role in the modern Air Force is pretty much limited to providing a home for the Red Arrows. So having an air show here seemed to offer another good reason for keeping the base open, which is why yesterday's decision adds to the concern of people in the area. The last decade has proved to be turbulent for RAF Scampton. In 2007, the MOD contemplated scrapping the Red Arrows as part of a defence review. The future of the base came into question in 2011 with suggestions that the Red Arrows would move to RAF Waddington. Then in 2014, Lincolnshire County Council put forward plans for the base to become a tourist attraction, bringing in 200,000 visitors a year, plans that didn't materialise as the base remained operational. The loss of next year's airshow will have a financial impact on the local economy.
Huge disappointment because next year, of course, is the centenary of the formation of the Royal Air Force, and Scampton was one of the earliest. And of course the airshow would be the icing on the cake during that centenary year. The impact is tremendous, not just on the celebrations, on the bed and breakfast trade and all the rest of it. It's sure to make an impact.
RAF Scampton has a rich history behind it, but as the RAF prepares to celebrate its centenary, the question being asked now is how secure is its future? Jake Zuckerman, BBC Look North, Scampton.
Well, Professor Trevor Taylor is a military expert. I began by asking him if we needed so many RAF bases in Lincolnshire.
Well, I think that's a particular question for the MOD to answer. It's not a simple one to address because it's a matter of cost and benefit of selling off the bases. But generally, the Ministry of Defence is looking to reduce its footprint in the UK and to sell off as much of its estate as is reasonable and get the revenue.
No air show, and today the Ministry of Defence hasn't been able to give any clear reassurances about Scampton's future. Should we be worried tonight?
Well, I think obviously you'll have seen in the press the reports of the funding problems in the Ministry of Defence and a big deficit, 20 to 30 billion pounds that they need to cover in some way. So lots of options are being looked at. You've seen the references to the Marines and so on. So we can't assume that the Red Arrows are necessarily going to survive.
So there might not necessarily be any sacred cows, and if you've got to make 20 billion in savings, then that presumably or could include the Red Arrows.
That's correct. I don't think that there are very few sacred cows left in defence. Of course, and if it would save money to relocate the Red Arrows, that would be a very tempting option.
This may be way off the mark, but it's prime land, a lot of land, a few miles away from the desirable city of Lincoln. That land would be very profitable to sell, wouldn't it?
Well, as you describe it, I don't know the base in detail, but as you describe it, that would be one of the considerations about how much cash could be raised by disposing of the site.
Technology gets more sophisticated, drone aircraft are being used increasingly, so the RAF doesn't need that much space, does it, anymore?
Oh, well, I think that's the RAF has fewer aircraft and it's basing them in fewer and fewer places, so the F-35 and Typhoon tend to be based at a single point that helps save money with support and so on, but those are really separate questions from the use of drones, some of which require normal sized runways.
Just finally, if you were a betting man, Scampton here in 3 years' time?
Well, I'm not a betting man. I think we'll have to wait to see the result of the security review, but this decision may not be taken for another 6 months or so. It's going to be painful decisions for someone. There is just not enough money as things stand, and with the economy as it is, I can't see defence getting significantly more funding.
Professor Taylor, very good to talk to you tonight. Thank you very much indeed. Does sound a bit ominous, doesn't it, Professor Taylor, talking to me earlier. After we reported last night that there wouldn't be an air show next year, there was a big response, so thank you for all of those. Just a few. David says, with it being the 100th anniversary of the RAF next year, I think this is absolutely disgusting. If they can't sort out a few problems within a year, then they deserve the sack. Pete says, it was too expensive. I would normally go both days, but I stayed away because of the price. Many people actually were saying the same as Pete. And Sue says, with 2018 being so important for the RAF, I think they should rethink this. New events take time to establish themselves. And of course, we will continue to keep an eye on what happens as far as the future of Scampton is concerned.